Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I am Dr. Mizan of Mizan Coaching. If this is your first time stumbling on our channel, I am Dr. Mizan. I am a family medicine trained physician who basically transitioned completely away from clinical medicine, meaning actually doing physical exams, prescribing medications, working in a clinic or a hospital, and basically became a full-time medical legal consulting physician. So what this basically means is that I help patients, I help hospitals, I help attorneys, medical malpractice attorneys, personal injury attorneys, everyone really, like regardless of what part of the equation you're in achieving truth in medicine. So basically exploring a case, regardless of if it's a plaintiff, if it's a defendant, it doesn't matter to me. My job is really to be a physician providing a medical outlook on a case, basically providing truth in order to achieve justice. So welcome to the channel. And, please check out our other videos. There's a video on documentation. There's a video on my journey on how I got here and steps on if you want to leave clinical medicine for whatever reason. If you feel that your skill set is better suited for consulting, then check out our videos below and in the channel. But without further ado, the question here I get all the time. Like I cannot emphasize how often I get this medical myth. And again, if you check out my other videos, you'll know a little bit about myself, but I grew up in a family of physicians. I grew up, since I was a little kid, having aunties and uncles and parents, etc., in the medical field. So I was privy and privileged enough to see the reality of doctor life, like in, like 10 years, 20 years down the line. And so, one thing about every structured professional field is that it's the blind leading the blind. And we all know that, right? So when you're a pre-med student, you just talk to your other pre-med fellows and med students, residents even. Everyone has an idea of what life will be like once you're past training, once you're done with training. But the reality often is more underwhelming than what we believe it should be or it could be. So the answer to this question, if you came here via my short, is yes. Resident physicians can and often get sued, or rather named in medical malpractice lawsuits. So again, check out our other videos on what the heck does the word sued mean. The answer to the question, what percentage of physicians will get sued in their career lifetimes, believe it or not, is 100%. And so, what that basically means is if you practice medicine for 50 years, let's say, you will either be a direct defendant or a named defendant, like a fifth defendant down the line. And this is just part of being a doctor, okay? So don't get scared, don't leave medicine because of this. We need you, we need more doctors in the clinical world. So let's get into this. So yes, resident physicians can be sued for medical malpractice, and we get about 25% or so of our cases here are unfortunately against either direct or named defendants who are resident physicians, meaning that they're in residency training. They don't have their medical license. They don't have their medical license if they're not board certified. They have a medical degree. They matched into a residency program. The most that they do have is probably a PTAL, which is a postgraduate training license, etc. So just like any other healthcare provider, residents can also get sued. Medical malpractice refers to a situation where a healthcare professional, including resident physicians, failed to provide the standard of care expected in their field, resulting in harm or injury to a patient. So again, this could be either malicious, or it could be willful neglect, or it could just be a mistake. And unfortunately, these are, the reason why this entire field of medical legal exists is to correct these mistakes. And, one thing that I tell all the doctors that I train is that it's not against people, really. It's against a very faulty system. And I'll be having I'll say my magnum opus in this channel very soon, hopefully, will be a video examining the current healthcare system in the United States and how faulty it is. And those of us in the healthcare system know that it's faulty, okay? Let's just be real. Let's call a spade, regardless of if you're a hospitalist, a resident, a med student, you can tell that this is not a great system. No one should be working 28-hour calls every week or so, and then manning the ICU or what have you. So So really the medical legal field exists to really change and reform the healthcare system. And I think it's a great thing. Okay, so if a resident physician is negligent in their duties, makes a medical error, fails to meet the standard of care expected in their training level, intern or senior or chief, etc., they can be held legally liable for any resulting harm to the patient. The patient and or their family may file a medical malpractice lawsuit against the resident seeking compensation for damages such as medical expenses, pain and suffering, or lost wages. And it's important to note regarding liability, right? Like a lot of you are thinking, I'm sure, like, oh, it's under the attending's license. And I hear that all the time. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. The liability in these med mal cases can extend beyond the resident. So basically, it'll include the supervising resident, it'll include the supervising physicians, including if you're an intern, your senior resident, the attending physician, the hospital itself, and any other healthcare professionals that were involved in the patient's care. And, you know, that's really the reality of the situation. And resident physicians usually have malpractice insurance provided by their training program or the hospital where they work. The insurance coverage helps protect them in cases of these lawsuits and provides legal representation and financial support for potential settlements and judgments. So one advice I have to all you resident physicians, interns, is to be very familiar with your protections. So like talk to HR, talk to your hospital's legal team, talk to your program director. I feel like, you know, if anyone, the PD would be familiar, or they should be, like ideally. Yeah, I laugh because a lot of times even the PDs have no clue about this stuff, and that's unfortunate. So make sure that you know your rights, you know your protections that your program and your hospital provide you. And ideally, I know this is crazy, but ideally find these out before you rank your programs, okay? Because a lot of programs have horribly incompetent legal dynamics or rules, and you don't want to be in a 3-year or 5-year program with horrible legal rules, right? So yeah, always do your due diligence and protect yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. Okay, and really the summary here is that overall, while resident physicians are still in training, they are not immune to legal action and can be sued or named in litigation for medical malpractice if their actions or omissions result in harm to a patient. So again, check out our other videos, but you know, always CYA, which stands for cover your behind. And my advice that I give to hospitals wherever I go across the US is for resident physicians and attendings to have each other's backs. And I know this sounds crazy, right? Like you would assume that you do, but we've had so many situations where an attending would just throw the resident physician under the bus. And a lot of times even a resident would throw another resident under the bus, right? Because it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like you don't want to lose your position, which it took you 30 years to get here, right? But my goal in being in the medical legal field and creating this channel, etc., is to hopefully reform the healthcare system step by step, drop by drop, right? And one of the biggest things is to stop the friendly fire, okay? Like I came from a toxic program. A lot of you are in toxic programs right now. And really, I know this sounds cliche, but you are the change that you want to see in the world, right? So help each other, know that everyone is stressed out. Your career is important, but it's not as important as you as a person, as you as a human being. And you don't want to live with a regret that you ruined someone else's life down the line, right? Because that will haunt you until your very last breath. And at the end of the day, it's the patients who suffer. It's a healthcare system that suffers, and it just continues to get worse over time. So again, I'm Dr. Mizan with Mizan Coaching. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, leave them below. Our team reads every single comment. And again, if you have any ideas or if you have any questions that you'd like us to go over, or even if you have a specific case that you'd like us to examine, feel free to email us. Our email is in the profile page, or leave a comment. But thank you again for watching, and until next time.